If you were watching the W15 during preseason testing, you may have had the thought come to you, oh, looks a little bit slow. Then maybe your next thought was, well, Mercedes are known for sandbagging. They're definitely sandbagging with the W15. It's going to be a rocket ship once we get to Bahrain. But is that the case? Is the W15 slow, or are Mercedes just sandbagging? Well, actually, I think the truth lies somewhere else. But just quickly, in case you don't know, Mercedes have completely changed their car. They've gone away completely from the zero side pod concept which they had before, and which, interestingly, Red Bull have decided to actually pick up the mantle and run with, as they're going to be upgrading the RB20 and turning it into a more zero side pod style concept as they go with their vertical inlets. But enough about Red Bull. Back to Mercedes. They've abandoned that concept and gone for the more conventional style of car that Red Bull pioneered over the last couple of seasons. They've spent a lot of time developing the platform of the W15, a lot of time working on the stability of the W15, changing the driver position, even coming up with brand new front wings. The front wing was originally questioned by all the teams and the FIA. And the FIA have given Mercedes the green light. Yes, that wing can be used. Although that's not to say that it won't be protested, because protests can only happen after we get into a race weekend. And the FIA may decide to actually take away the option for that front wing as of next season. But for now, they have this new trick front wing and they're going to try and use it. But looking at the car, when it come together and was on track, we didn't see any sort of glory runs, although we did see one session where Russell topped second in the timesheets. But they weren't doing anything particularly amazing to do with speed. Now, I don't think that Mercedes are running with the full engine mode up to the max, because they never really do in pre-season testing. But the reason I think Mercedes weren't setting the track alight is because, unlike all the other cars which are on track, very few of those have actually had a radical, complete concept change. They have built off of what they already know about their cars from previous seasons and developed that into this season. Even Red Bull, with their brand new Mercedes-inspired skinny side pod design, fighter jet inspired we should say, actually they are still just building off of the platform and all of the knowledge and all of the design that they had from the RB18 and 19 and that they've put into this new car. Mercedes have thrown away everything and designed something completely new. So in doing so, Mercedes have needed to come to terms with how this car works. They've had no data to go on, and they've had to start to rebuild their knowledge of these aero regulations with this new car. So what they were doing through pre-season testing was getting to understand how this car works. What's the optimal setup window? In fact, every time they made a change to the car, even if it was something as simple as putting on new tyres, they were gaining new data, and they would have to learn how to optimise that data to make the car go faster. Okay, so that's what Mercedes were up to then. They were learning how the W15 works. And it may take a few races, bearing in mind the other teams have 2 years of their cars that they can use against Mercedes to keep ahead. Mercedes are building a brand new knowledge base. But the positive thing is that the drivers have said the W15 feels much more comfortable to drive, that it's a much better car. It doesn't have the snappy rear end that the W13 and 14 had. They feel more connected to it. Russell said he feels like he can attack the corners with this car. So if all of this is true, then Mercedes have a better foundation to build off of. Like Red Bull and the other teams have built off of their foundation from previous seasons, Mercedes now have a foundation which they believe is a lot higher than they had before with the W13 and 14, and that they will be able to build off of to build a stronger, faster, race-winning car. That's the plan. But that is all just conjecture. They may have been sandbagging. They may just be slow, but according to all the reports that I've seen, the car looked quite good going into corners. It looked quite good when they were doing faster runs once towards day 3 when they got the setup right. So hopefully Mercedes have got this car right and it's not a complete mess like the previous 2 seasons. Now, if you want to know more about how we got to the W15 as it is, click this video here because it will give you all of the information about how we got to the W15 as it is.